Are you ready?
I am ready.
This is take two, boys and girls. In case anyone's keeping track, you will never hear take one. Never. You'll never hear it. It's gone. It's already gone.
I already bought it on the dark web.
That's right. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come to over the bridge, go through one set of lights, start looking left for the red neon sign, park in the street. It's getting longer. Every week, my spiel's getting longer. If you want to have your own podcast, listen after. Dave will tell you how. And what else do I say? Like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, for sure, please like and subscribe. I want to see what happens. We are here today. Somebody I've known for a very, very long time, maybe longer than almost anybody, kind of.
Yeah.
Mr. Pierce Campbell is here.
I am thrilled to be here, John.
Hey.
Thank you.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah, why not? Why not? Mm-hmm.
The big question, though, is why?
Why? Well, I don't know if we can answer that.
No, that's another episode or 4.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if anybody knows why.
No.
But you know what? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter why.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. So tell us, Pierce is a guitar player, among many other things, but guitar player, singer, songwriter, producer, kinda, X.
Yeah. I sold all my gear.
Sold all his gear. Wow.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, so tell us what you're doing now.
So, basically just playing gigs. I actually semi-retired in that I'm slowing down a bit.
Sure.
So, at this point, it's nice to slow down a little. But I was doing like 320 shows a year, which is a lot. And
That's a lot.
It's a grind to kind of keep it going. So it's nice to kind of back off a little. And,
yeah.
But even my back off is like 175.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's still fun, and it's an easy pace, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. What are you doing at the moment that anyone might want to know about?
Well, right now I'm getting ready to go on vacation.
Oh, great.
Well,
cool.
This is the time of year that I start gearing up for the summer show.
Right,
so I'm booking, park and rec stuff.
Sure.
And as we all get older, I'm ending up subbing people in and out here and there. So, I spend time kind of making sure I have a band.
Yeah, right. I hear that. So take us back to the beginning. You're from?
I grew up in Woodbury.
Right.
And my folks were really into traditional jazz.
Oh.
And enough so that my father and some friends started a thing called the Connecticut Traditional Jazz Club, and and back in those days, like I'm talking like mid 60s to 70s, you could fly a band up from New Orleans and put them up for a weekend, and they'd do a couple of shows, and so a lot of these bands would stay at the house. I mean, we had the Preservation Hall band up.
Oh wow!
We had
I didn't know that.
A lot of iconic people in the traditional jazz scene at that time.
That's killer.
Would stay at the house, and we'd have jam sessions, and that's how I got to know the Galvanized Jazz Band, who's fairly well known for that kind of music around here. And so I grew up kind of just hanging out, watching everybody play.
What did your dad play?
My dad played cornet, and he also started his own group called the Funky Butt Jazz Band, which was cranking for quite a while.
Right.
And even in their heyday, and there were times when he was, fielding 2 bands on a Saturday, and it's funny because down the road, Tony, who we were talking about, who's my longtime friend and bass player, probably longer than I've known you.
Wow.
Started playing with my dad, so he was really
wow.
on upright bass.
Okay.
And so he was really well-versed in traditional jazz, and we both took lessons from Link Chamberlain, who was up in New Milford, who was kind of an iconic, legendary guitar player.
Okay.
In fact, I was reading Tony Mottola's book. I'm reading along, and all of a sudden, there are like 2 pages. He's talking about Link Chamberlain, like how amazing, this amazing guitar player in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We used to go see him, and it was just blew my mind.
Wow.
And I was like, holy smokes, that was my dude.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
It was.
Wow.
So anyway, it all sort of morphed into me just having music in my veins.
Yeah.
And
I wonder, how did your dad ever get into that up in Connecticut here? I wonder.
I don't know.
You know?
I mean, I'm assuming he was into it in college. I mean, he played a little banjo and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just
decided this is going to be the thing.
Yeah. And the funny thing that got me into guitar is that one of the clarinet players who was over from England, a fellow named Sammy Remington, and he tours all over the world still.
Wow.
Doing Dixieland, and he played some guitar, and he just had a baby, and my folks were like, you know what we'll do? We're going to get all the neighborhood kids to take guitar lessons from you on Saturday morning so we can get you some money. So we would all line up.
Gotcha.
And one at a time, we'd go into my parents' bedroom and take guitar lessons.
He would show you a little bit.
And he taught me how to finger pick. In like 4th grade. So so that's how I got into fingerstyle, and that led to me loving like Leo Kottke and that kind of stuff, and that kind of led to my folk career and all that stuff. So that's how it all started.
Wow. Wow, that's cool. So a jazz clarinet player teaching you how to finger pick.
Yeah, ragtime. Well, he taught me this thing called 4-finger rag, which I know to this day.
Oh, wow.
It was, and I was talking to him.
So it's not like the folk finger picking that we're thinking of.
No, this is like Travis picking with, 4 fingers.
Gotcha.
And when you're young, you don't think about the mountain you're climbing. You just sort of climb it. And it worked. And that was pretty cool. And so it just that's where I got my guitar start.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Huh. And then so you're kind of learning how to play. I mean, what would you call it? Ragtime.
Yeah, it was ragtime. Yeah. I mean, these days, I guess you call it fingerstyle guitar or something. Maybe. There's probably a bunch of different names for it.
Wow.
And I guess you call Travis picking, like if you're double bassing or ultimately you triple bass and you're going dun, 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 dun.
It's almost like stride piano.
Exactly,
but
on guitar.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
It was.
And then, so you're doing that young.
And it's weird because I feel like I was a late starter on electric guitar. I didn't even get one until college. And
oh, wow.
And then I started taking my goal was to go to music school at Ithaca College. So I went and I started taking basic theory classes, and then I realized I was like, 6 years behind everybody who had been taking theory and playing in bands. And so anyway, I changed my plan a little and started taking private lessons and jazz labs, things that I could handle one at a time and kind of like build up my repertoire of music theory and use it practically. Figure out how to plug it into what I wanted to do. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and that's also about that time I was taking jazz lab on bass and playing bass in bands, which is we had talked about. I'm back into playing bass again. And I'm really digging it. It's like But back in those days, I was playing a lot of bass.
Huh. Wow. Interesting. So rock and roll. When did rock and roll guitar playing kind of?
It really sort of hit in mid-college.
Wow.
Ithaca was a huge music scene.
You would say before that you were like a folky, or you're still doing the ragtime
pretty much
thing?
I mean, in high school, I met a kid, two people that kind of influenced me. A fellow named David Lowenstein, who turned me on to Hot Tuna.
Oh, okay.
And that really clicked because I was like, I know how to play that, and I know all those tunes because I grew up listening to the originals. Right? Sure. So I started learning all the Hot Tuna tunes, and then that morphed into Leo Kottke and ultimately a folk career with a bunch of CDs, and I actually got to open for Leo a bunch of times, and Jorma Kaukonen from Hot Tuna. So I ended up playing with my guitar heroes.
Yeah, right. So that strand was there.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So not your typical you wouldn't be old enough, but not the typical saw Beatles on Ed Sullivan and started there, which is interesting.
Not at all.
Yeah,
no.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
And then I started, in college, everybody wanted to rock and roll, so I was trying to play catch up because all the guys that I knew already knew how to play electric guitar, and I'm like, amplifiers, what's that?
Yeah. Wow.
So I always felt like I was a little behind the 8 ball in terms of electric.
Okay.
Music, but.
And then when did you Did you have a couple of things going at the same time all the time, or?
Early on, it was really mostly just my folk career. I
Okay.
was jamming with people, just trying to figure out how to play.
Wow.
And but the acoustic stuff really seemed to be where I had the skill set at that point.
Okay.
And I also figured out that the weird thing is I started my folk career doing instrumental fingerstyle guitar, and I realized that people were responding much more when I was singing.
Oh.
Right. So people are used to vocals and
Sure.
and a melody and lyrics and stuff. So I was like, so that got me started writing, more vocal material,
Okay.
and led to like 5 folk albums, which I
Yeah.
worked with Vic.
Yep.
And I keep forgetting whether we talked about this on air.
Yeah. Right.
But we know Vic Steffens both
Yeah.
from a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, and Vic got me going in the recording studio, and that morphed into the Carey Boys, because at that time, the weird thing, you and I were playing together in the Extras.
Right.
And then when you left, Bernie Sirocco took over.
Right.
And John Duty came to us and said, listen, I missed my St. Patrick's Day guy is gone.
Oh.
Can the Extras do St. Patrick's Day and learn a couple of Irish tunes?
Oh.
So I said, sure. And literally just about the same time, I met Mark Jones from Ireland. And he was like, I want to do an album. We hit it off. I said, well, here's Vic. Let's do an album. I'll do your album. I'll help you with your album at Vic's.
Yeah.
And that got the Carey Boys started.
Wow.
Yeah. So that all happened sort of all at once. And
Yeah.
the Extras did St. Patrick's Day at Duties for many years.
Yep.
I didn't even know. I mean, my good friend Colin was the vocalist in the group.
Right.
I didn't even know he played banjo. So all of a sudden, we're like this Irish rock crew
Hey.
at Duties, and that got us going. And we played St. Patrick's Day for probably 30 years.
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
20 of them at Maggie McFly's in Middlebury. It was a huge event.
Wow.
Crazy.
So who all was in that?
Irish Extras was the Extras. Mike Newton. Bernie Sirocco.
Right.
Mike Newton, who passed away
Sure.
recently,
Yeah.
very sadly, but
Real sad.
tremendous guy, amazing bass player. And then Bernie Sirocco, another kind of legend
I
in
wonder
Connecticut.
where he is. I wonder if I get him in.
I was just talking to Jim Florian, and he
good.
plays with him still, and
all
they
right.
play down on the shoreline, and he's doing good.
Yeah. Maybe I'll reach out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. It's a convoluted story, but a lot of things sort of happened at the same time and then branched off. The Carey Boys are still going, and that's almost 40 years.
And that's you and
Mark is no longer playing because he's just having some physical trouble. So, but Tony Pasqualoni, a longtime bass player, and Paul Neary on banjo. And occasionally we have Colleen Phillish fill in on fiddle. She plays with the Highland Rovers, who are kind of an iconic group down in the southern Connecticut as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Was the Irish thing, was it a stretch for you, or were you
it's
like,
folk music.
okay, I can kind of...
Yeah, it's folk music. And I my good friend Mary Moran, her dad, Johnny Moran, was an Irish folk singer in Connecticut.
Okay.
So what I did is I called him up and said, Johnny, send me a tape with like the 5 songs I need to know for St. Patrick's Day. And he did. And so that got me started.
Hey.
Yeah. So, and every year we'd learn more. Well, the great thing is Cutler's Music always had like these, $1.99 tapes that you could buy Irish drinking tunes. And we would just buy all of them and learn all of them,
Yep. Why not?
And then I started writing for the Carey Boys. And in fact, I'd say we probably do 40% original at this point.
Original Irish tunes.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
And sea shanties. I was really into like Ship of the Line era.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You
were involved in that too.
Yeah, I was. That's crazy.
Oh.
Wow. So Duties wants you to play St. Patrick's Day. Is it like, I don't know, do people even know the difference? Or they want, like, are there Irish music experts around here? That
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And
was it like, I'm getting into a scene, or you just felt like I could do this?
Yeah, no, we fell into it easily. And I mean, Colin's last name is O'Neill, mine is Campbell.
Right. You're already in.
We're there. So we would learn more songs each year, and it was always a crazy event. And
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. And Colin's dad, God bless him, would get up and sing a couple of songs with us. And
wow, were you like, why did we even bother with the extras all these years? Like, were you instantly like, we're a different band? Like, oh, we should have done this.
Well, it's
That's funny
because it's really, you only get one gig a year. But we loved
never
it.
mind.
We loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it did lead to a significant part of my career, no doubt about it.
Yeah, right. Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just never know what kind of turns. I mean, a lot of my career, I would say, happened at times when I turn up the music thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Which we will get to. It happened on a Monday night. No idea, at a restaurant. I was not supposed to be playing Irish music, and I played an Irish song and met a guy through the Irish tune who was like,
yeah,
I got a record company.
yeah, right. All right, well, let's get to that.
Okay.
Let's back up just a little bit. So let me see if I could figure out. So I was in high school, and I had my basement original band, like the first guys I ever was kind of playing with, trying to make something with. And we decided we were going to make a, I don't know what we thought we were doing, make a record or something. And we found you in the Advocate and recorded in your basement.
Oh,
that's where I met you.
Oh my God.
That was me.
Wow.
Do you remember that? You don't even remember
vaguely. That. I remember.
That's where I met you.
Yeah, there were a couple of folks I kind of heard about, iconically, in the state that showed up in my basement.
Yeah.
And you were one of them, apparently.
Yeah. So you had a setup. You am I right? It
Yes.
was in the Advocate, right?
Yep.
We were just looking for.
Yeah.
Because we didn't. I think we had like a 2-track. We had a machine.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, we're going to try and make a real recording,
Yep.
drum kits, and we must have found you in the Advocate.
Do you remember that drum kit? That it was a like cherry.
You had rototoms.
Or
I remember
something
that.
like that. I did.
Yep. I have the record. I'll play the
my
recordings
God.
for you.
I can't wait to
have
hear
them.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So how did you get into? So you had enough of a rig where you were advertising.
Yeah.
So
it was the early days of home studios, which was pretty basic. You had a reel-to-reel, like 4-track probably to start with.
Yep.
A couple of mic pre's and a couple of mics, and you just kind of threw it all together.
That's it. Yeah, I remember.
I think we mixed down to like cassette or some crazy
Probably.
thing. Yeah.
Probably did.
Huh.
Yeah. We got it done.
Yeah.
I think we made like we did like the 2-song demo or whatever.
Yeah.
And did everything.
Yeah.
Did the vocals in the laundry room. You had you know what I mean? We would do the, yeah.
Gosh, those were the days.
Yeah. That was that.
Stuff. Yeah. You didn't think twice about just going for it,
Yeah. No, I remember
Sky's the limit.
coming through the house and going down into the basement. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That was in, Prospect, right?
Yep.
All right. And then there's another story. Remember when I followed you home high on ether? Because
Well, back up a little, because you joined the Extras.
Yeah.
After Vic Steffens.
Yep.
I don't know if he technically left, or he was just like, I got this guy for you. I think he just sort of plugged you in.
That's the way he did it. Yeah. So when I started my career, right, those guys, it was cool. That was like we played at the Grotto and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But not real like gigs. Not like a paying gig or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and right about the time when Vic was starting to open his studio business, he was starting to fob off his gigs to me. Because I was about, 17, 18, just getting ready to, and his thing was like, you need to learn how to do this for real if you're going to do it. And it just so happened, so he probably would like, I can't make it, but I'm going to send somebody.
Yeah.
And it was Tom Stankus
and
you.
Yep.
Was pretty much, I think, where it started was the Extras.
Yep.
It was cool. Yeah. It's Mike Newton and you
and Colin.
That was it.
Yep.
The Extras.
Was there anybody else? No, that was
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That was it. That's a band I remember.
Yep.
Remember when I was late for the Liberty Bell?
Oh.
Remember that? Oh, my God. Dude, I
now, wait a second. Was that your mom's fault? Because she used to drive you to the gigs.
No. My car broke. All right, so we had all kinds of gigs. The Liberty Bell was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun.
It was.
Yeah. It was like a boat. I don't know, what would you call it?
It was a cruise boat.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know, smallish cruise
yeah,
boat,
a
and they would
smallish-
do like a booze cruise,
A booze
like
cruise.
4:30 in the afternoon
Yep.
on a Friday or something like
Yep,
that, or
leave
Thursday.
from Long Wharf
Mhm.
and go God knows where, and there would be a band on it.
Yep.
And we had a gig. I was leaving. My car broke down on the way to the gig.
Mm.
Like I know exactly where I was, getting ready to go. This is pre-cell phone or anything.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
And it was
right?
like, I didn't know what to do. My car broke. I was freaking out. And one of my friends was driving by, and I waved him down. I said, "What are you doing for the next 4 hours?" And he was like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "You're coming to my gig.
You're going to drink heavily.
You're going to drink heavily." Loaded the drums. And I remember driving down. You had to drive down this narrow jetty
Mhm.
to get to the boat. And you guys were already playing, and the boat was almost leaving. And I pulled up and said, "Wait, I'm here," and came on and set up, and off we went. And that was the gig.
Well, here's another memory.
Crazy.
We played some weird club on a top floor somewhere, and I can't remember. It's somewhere in the valley, I think. And we're setting up, and you showed up with a bass drum, a snare, and a hi-hat, and
Yeah,
we're all
probably.
freaking out.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounded amazing.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. We were just like, dude, you're the king.
Wow. I remember going through that phase. Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
I went through a thing. I was this doesn't matter. It's not about me, but I just realized, I was like, I need to not play any fills for the next year.
Yep.
Like, just I can't, because I want to focus on the groove. I want to kind of see if I can figure this thing out, because I felt like I had, if I could do that, no one else had the discipline to kind of do that. And
Yeah.
I thought, if I do this, I'm going to have the deepest groove in the world, and that'll be my thing.
Yeah.
Because I just realized at a certain point I couldn't compete with the chops wise. So I was like, so I remember, people would be like, "When are you going to bring a tom?" And I'm like, "Not yet, not yet, not yet."
I have to say that really opened my eyes. I mean, I remember it to this day, because I was like, wow, you can do an awful lot with.
I was too
Not a
hyper.
lot,
I
so
was
it
I
was
was like,
great.
I can't distract myself. I'm just not going to bring them.
Yep.
I did hat kick snare.
Mhm.
And then I had a tom. Then I brought a tom for a while, because people would be like, "Can you please bring a tom?" I brought one tom, and it took me years before. Now I'm just a 4-piece kit. But yeah, that's funny. And so, just gig stories.
Yeah. We could probably talk about gig stories.
Yeah, I know, we got
forever.
yeah. So,
Turn up the music. We were going there.
oh yeah, totally. I went. So you lived in Prospect. I remembered your old house.
Yep.
And I don't remember where we played, but it was the dead of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was loading my gear.
Yep.
I have my, put a load of stuff in. And what I didn't realize was, when I put my first load of drums in, it hit. I had a can of de-icer back in the day when we didn't care about the planet or whatever. It was aerosol de-icer. And it got stuck on, and it filled my whole car with fumes of ether or whatever it was.
Right.
And I came back, oh, damn, I didn't realize, But by then it was too late. Loaded up the drums, and I got in the car, and I was so high that I'm like, I don't remember how to get home.
I don't even know how you got to my house. Were you just following me?
And then I said, I know where Pierce lives, and I know how to get home from Pierce's house, so I'm going to follow him home and then figure it out. And I had the window down. I'm like trying to get sober. And I'm following you and following you and following you. And then you pull up to this strange house and like get out of the car, and you're like, "What are you doing? Do you want to come in? Like, why are you following me?" And I was like, "Where are we?" And you're like, "I'm home." And you moved.
Oh, that's
and I was like,
funny.
"Wait, what?" And you're like, what are you doing? And I said, "I was going to follow you to your house in Prospect because I know how to get home from there." And you're like, "This is a different house, dude." I'm like, "Oh." And you gave me directions, and I got home.
Well, I hope I made you sit for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But it's just so funny. Anyway. Do they even make de-icer anymore? Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah,
I was going to say, don't
do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Crazy. Yeah. Anyway. So extras, when did that start? How did that happen?
I was living in Ithaca with Co. And we both kind of.
Is that where you guys met?
No, she's from Waterbury. I knew her
Oh, okay.
from hanging out at a place called the Walter's Gallery in Woodbury, which was kind of like the hippie coffee shop,
Wow.
music,
Yeah,
poetry kind of
Yeah.
place. And she moved to Ithaca with me,
Okay.
and it was after college, and we both kind of wanted to stay there, but I mean, she was an RN. She couldn't even find work, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I was looking around going, well, there's a music scene here, but if you want to go outside of town, everything's like 5 hours away.
Yeah,
you
right,
know?
right,
So
sure.
we decided to move back to Connecticut. And somehow, oh yeah. So I met Tony.
Okay.
No, wait a second, I got to back up.
Yeah.
Some of this is a little foggy in my
Yeah,
brain, but
sure.
I met Mike Newton. I'm not sure where exactly, but he actually started working with us at Colleen's Stores,
Right.
Deva.
Right.
And somehow John Rispoli, who, ended up, somehow I met him too, and I'm not even sure. I think a lot of this happened through The Advocate, honestly.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Remember those
you
days?
answered ads.
Sure.
I mean, that's how I got the 5 Satins gig.
Wow.
Was
Yeah,
from an ad in The Advocate. And
imagine that.
and then a lot of that early time is a little fuzzy because a lot of people kind of came and went in that band until it sort of coalesced with Colin.
Yep.
And for the life of me,
Where did he come from?
well, he lived in Guilford, and somehow I met him through some
Yeah.
friends, and we got, we just started the band. Some of the initial happenings are, who knows?
Yeah. So probably through Mike Newton came Vic, probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Right? Or something. Who knows?
Yeah. So
Crazy.
but I started working on some solo projects as I decided I wanted to. I played briefly with a band called Jet playing bass. It was kind of like a big, kind of heavier style band.
Yeah.
And I met Tony because he was taking my place in Jet as the bass player. Because I decided I wanted to pursue my original stuff, and we were sort of doing that with the extras a bit.
Yep.
I mean, we did try to go to New York a bunch of times and meet people.
I remember playing originals with that band.
Yeah. So, and then that sort of coalesced. We sort of coalesced with you, really, and Vic.
Oh.
And so that was sort of the band till Bernie came in for the last year or two or whatever it was. And then after that, I think Colin wanted to leave and do something else, and I wanted to do my original stuff, my folk stuff, because I was writing a lot of that stuff and trying to get good at that. And that was about the time I started putting studio stuff together as well.
Yeah. We went to Woodstock. I made records. Remember?
Oh, right. That was my third album, but second CD maybe. I don't know. Scott Petito up in NRS recording, and Scott's like going gangbusters. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh, he's
that's cool.
Doing really well. He's very well respected and utilized in the jazz circuit for sure.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember that was a big deal.
So I will give you a compliment from Scott, because after we did all of that, he goes, I don't normally let people bring their own drummers because a lot of times it doesn't work out. But he said, that guy was great.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so that was
That's
nice.
cool.
Well, I knew you were, which is why I had you come up.
Well, I try.
Yeah.
So the original thing, you got a couple of things going on by then.
Yeah, I mean, the Carey Boys are going.
Yep.
And I was trying to make some headway in the folk circuit.
Okay.
With writing, and so I mean, I did like 5 CDs trying to do that stuff. And then, I mean, I think ultimately I discovered that there's a certain level I could get to, and whether or not I could make a living at that was maybe tough. And I kind of did some soul searching and realized that, one of my fortes was being versatile, doing a lot of things. So I said, well, you should play to your strengths. I mean, that's always what they say. And so I decided to, do a lot of different things. I met at a showcase for senior shows, a fellow named John Banker.
Okay.
And John's a multi-instrumentalist. He was the band leader for the Coast Guard band.
Oh, okay.
And I saw him do this showcase where he played like a ton of instruments, a lot of different styles of music. It's like that. I just think that guy's got this figured out. He's like,
oh, wow.
You do a lot of different kinds of music, kind of plug in different bands in different places at different times. I mean, he had an oompa band for even for, what's the German beer festival?
Yeah, like Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest. Yeah, I mean, he had a band for everything.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I see how you can do this. I see how you can make a living playing music by doing a bunch of things, plugging them into different venues at different times of the year.
Sure.
Kerry Boys were already happening.
Yep.
I had March plugged. I had Summertime with Town Greens. We started doing Town Greens with the Kerry Boys 35 years ago when nobody was doing them. People were like, what's a Town Green show?
Yeah, yeah. And
now it's like everybody's like, I got to do Town Greens. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's how I kind of switched gears a little to sort of what I'm doing now and winding down a bit in some respects.
It was just like more things, more than just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's about the time when the Turn Up the Music thing happened, which was happening at the same time as the folk career and the Kerry Boys.
All right, well then what? Yeah.
Okay, so
wait, Connecticut, weren't you? What's the thing? You were Connecticut State.
Oh, State Troubadour.
That's
totally
right.
Forgot about that.
Hey.
That that was like a 2-year stint.
Okay.
It was fun. It looks good on a resume.
Sure.
I don't know if it did anything for my career, but it's a nice thing to have, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And how does that happen? Who?
Oh, you apply, you write a song about Connecticut, and then you get juried, and somebody, a bunch of people vote you yay or nay, and
cool. And then you're the thing.
You're it.
Hey, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Why not? When was that?
2007 and 2008, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the Turn Up the Music thing. Tell us what that is.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm playing at a place called Rosie Tomorrow's on a Monday night.
Yeah.
It was a regular gig for me, and I don't know why it wasn't March, but I was like, I'm going to play a couple Irish tunes. Why not? I'm kind of bored or something like that. Shake it up. And on the break, a guy, says,
"Sure,
come on over." And so I went over, and he goes, "Listen, I'm so and so from, and I've got a record company in New Jersey, and we are putting out our first Irish CD, and I just noticed that you're doing Irish tunes. Do you have any recorded?" And I said, yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Sure.
So I said, send me some tunes. Because he gave me a list of tunes they were trying to put on the album. And I said, well, I already have several of those recorded. So immediately they licensed those songs. And then he said, do you have capability to record? I said, oh yeah. I can,
sure.
I do recording all the time. So he gave me a list of tunes they wanted, and I said, no problem. I'll bang these out in a week for you. And they put them all in their first Irish CD.
So
anyway,
he was going to release a CD without anyone to do the stuff yet. That's funny.
So you were part of what they called the Hit Crew. Now, I should back up. Turn Up the Music is also called Drew's Famous Party Mix, and they put out party CDs in all the party stores throughout the country.
Yep.
I mean, it was big business, and
sure.
So their idea was you put out 100 CDs in a year and hope that 10 of them catch, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so that was their other model was that they had people like me re-record songs,
right,
in all sorts of genres because it's cheaper to have somebody re-record it
than license.
They still have to license the song, but not the original material.
Sure.
So that was their business model. So they have a bunch of guys like me all over the country, they would call you up or email and say, we need this song for this price in a week or whatever. And you'd say, okay. And then you'd put the guys together and record it and hopefully make a little money at the same time. And, so the Irish thing started it off, and then they discovered I could do a lot of different things. And you and I did one of their evergreens, which was a hit, was a thing called a tribute to Don Ho. You remember that one?
Yep, I do. So the thing is, this is, I guess, back in the day, probably they don't exist anymore.
No, I think they licensed They still license, but they're mostly making money, or maybe the original guy is on downloads on.
Yeah, right.
Because they've got all their material. And just before CDs kind of stopped, they were reaching out to everybody they knew, including myself, to say, listen, we want your catalog so that we can license it, down the road.
Sure.
And,
you said that would be $1 million.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have anything to license, so you already own all my material.
Yeah, right. So back in the day when CDs were the big medium, you would go to the party store, get your balloons and your whatever, and if you were having a Hawaiian theme party, there might be conveniently placed display of Hawaiian music or Irish music.
Exactly.
And those were you and other people.
And other people, Yep. I pitched, one of the first ideas I pitched to him was kids' campfire songs.
Why not?
All the old stuff that we used to sing when we were kids, right? I don't think it did very well, but they actually recorded it all, so put it out. So that's out there.
Kept you busy.
Yeah. And they would call up and ask me to write a kid's song for Halloween, Trick or Treat, Smell My Feet.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Can you do that?
Here we go.
In a week and have it recorded? Yeah, sure, no problem.
And you were good with that?
Well, I found that under pressure, it worked really well. I don't know why, but you just get it done, You
ever wonder if your full career was under pressure? If you would have, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if there was a record company going, come on, you got to get, instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah, right.
Maybe. That's funny.
So that was fun because it allowed me to really, you were there doing a lot of recordings. It was my house. It was and it wasn't all that well set up for recording, but it
wasn't
worked.
Bad though.
Yeah,
we got a good thing going.
Yeah. But I was able to, they allowed me to buy good gear and get a lot better at recording because I was literally recording all the time.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful, and at your home,
Yeah. How many of those did you make all told? Can you even?
I don't know because I did a lot of like single song things for them. And when CDs started to slow down, I morphed over into CD mastering, which is bizarre because I don't really have a mastering studio, but I was listening to stuff coming in because a lot of times I would master a CD that I recorded most everything, but they'd throw some stuff in that was already, and some of the stuff was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, you just got to match the levels.
You got to kind of figure out how to match EQs, and some of it sounded horrible and some of it sounded okay.
And all of a sudden they're like, you're the mastering guy now.
Well, I heard a couple of things that came from real mastering houses that they paid some money for, and I was like, oh man, I could do as well as that. Because I think what happened is a lot of times, fancier studios would just throw the stuff on a CD player and let it ride and not really actually pay attention, right? So, because they're like, it doesn't mean anything. It's a party CD, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I sat there, and what happened is ultimately I got really good at knowing what to do with the song to fit it in with everything else. So I just started making a catalog of songs, and at a certain point, a couple of years later, I was able to almost any CD they wanted, I could plug songs in I already had mastered.
Gotcha.
Right? So it took me like half an hour to master CD. Reconfiguring levels and sending them the codes.
Hey, that's cool. They must have been psyched that the guy heard you play an Irish tune. You're helping them in myriad different ways.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And well, you played a lot of tracks.
I did. We did. The ones I remember. Yeah, we did a Don Ho album.
Mm-hmm.
So everything would be done except the drums. So everything was to a click. So all I had to do was listen to the song, make notes, and just run it down.
Yep.
So we could do an entire album in a however
afternoon.
long. In an afternoon.
A couple of them in an afternoon for sure.
Yep. We did an entire Jimmy Buffett album, which I hate Jimmy Buffett. So that was difficult. But I'm up for a challenge. I mean, I'm not like, no, I refuse. I just, okay, let me figure this out. Yeah. But I remember that day I was just like, oh.
Well, I think I was freaking out about that album too, because when I said yes to the project, I didn't realize, I was like, oh, I've got 2 weeks to do a fully produced album. like with
Yeah, right.
everything.
Yeah,
in
nobody
it. And
does
it's
that.
like, I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? I think I called them up and was like freaking out. And they're
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
no, you can do it. We know you can do it. They talked me down. It was great.
Crazy. That's crazy. What are the sales? Did you ever even find out?
Nope. I have
So you
no
don't even
idea.
know what their biggest one was?
Oh, well, they told me that the Don Ho one was one of their biggest sellers. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool. Yeah, I have
Who
that.
knew?
I have that somewhere.
You know, it's
Funny.
it's really interesting to see how vastly the music business has changed. You know,
Yeah.
how many things have like come and gone, things that you maybe
Yeah.
thought would be around forever, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, wow, who knew 30 years ago where we'd be now with
Yeah, right.
no hard copy of anything. You know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, holy
yeah.
smokes.
When you were doing all that busy, were you still playing, or were you just
Oh,
like,
oh yeah.
wow?
Yeah.
That
I
must
think-
have been like the busiest time of your life.
Well, I don't think I was playing as much as I was, let's say, pre-COVID. I mean, I literally was doing 320 shows a year, and probably back then I was maybe doing 150, 175.
Yeah. But still, you're making an album every day
Yes.
in your head.
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
And I'm not sure when the Five Satins plugged in, but
Oh,
that was
okay.
in the middle of it all too.
Whoa. So talk about that.
Okay, so I answered an ad in the Advocate for the Five Satins, and
This would have been when?
early 90s, I think.
Okay.
And I ended up playing with the Five Satins for like 2 years, I think, or a year and a
Wow.
half or something.
Yeah.
But it was really lucky timing because so we had a keyboard player who was like the musical director,
Yep.
and he played keyboard, bass.
Mm-hmm.
And the drummer was a friend that I was playing with. We were trying to do original stuff, going down to New York and stuff like that.
Sure.
Jim Bruno. And so both of us, they were looking for a guitar, so we both joined at the same time, and so learned the set. And I don't know what I thought was I just thought it would be fun and something different. But it turns out the timing was incredible because there was a fellow named Richard Nader who was doing these really large oldies revival shows that were huge.
Yeah,
There would be like 20 bands on a
yeah.
bill, and we got to play. Now, I was lucky because Fred did. He just passed away last year, I guess it was.
Yep.
And he didn't like to. He was one of the only bands that insisted that he bring his own band. Now, everybody else used a house band.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So and for good reason, because you've got 20 bands on a bill. Everybody gets 15 minutes.
Sure,
you're bang, you're on off.
Yeah.
But Fred insisted on bringing his own band, which is us. But we got to play the Garden, Spectrum,
Wow.
the Meadowlands,
Wow.
the Beacon Theater,
Whoa.
Symphony Hall in
Yeah.
both Philadelphia and Boston.
Whoa.
I mean, and a whole bunch of like Italian nightclubs in New Jersey with limos out front.
Sure.
I'll say no more.
Yeah.
We were on very good behavior.
Oh, you'll do the gig. You ever hear that?
Oh, yeah. You'll do the gig.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, right.
I'm always thankful to Fred. We would all load into a van in New Haven. We'd drive to New York to pick up our bass man, Bernard. A couple of the other guys from New Jersey would meet us at the gigs, and
Here we go.
It was quite something.
That's cool. Wow, that's pretty wild.
And I had a couple of recordings from it, and I was like,
really?
huh, actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah, he did die last year. I do this year-end podcast like mixes of people who died, and it's a 4-parter this year. I don't know if my source. I can't keep track. I don't know if I'm going to a better source for people. So there's more, or whether more people died. But it's like a 4-part. It's like over 6 hours.
Wow.
And he did die last year because I know, because I just went through the list. Yeah, it's kind of in case anybody doesn't know, one of the things that put Connecticut on the map in the Still of the Night by the Five Satins is a New Haven, Connecticut product.
I mean, it's been voted on one of the big radio stations in New York, like the best oldies tune of all time.
Could
some
be
crazy thing. I don't know.
It definitely easily one of them.
But I will tell you that I was really impressed because I think can't remember if it was the Garden or the Spectrum, but one of the big gigs, and we're in the dressing room, and Howlin' Wolf it had to be the Garden because Howlin' Wolf and Chuck Berry came down specifically to say hi to Fred.
Oh,
and they're chatting away, and we're sitting just freaking out,
That's crazy.
It was interesting.
Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. They were talking about their crazy youth and all the nutso things they used to do.
I can't even imagine.
Hoping not to get arrested.
Oh, God. And sometimes getting arrested.
Yep. I'll tell you, Chuck Berry had the place, the Garden, rocking. It kind of freaked me out because the floor where we were backstage was going up and down.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, oh, my God, we're going to die tonight because of Chuck Berry.
Crazy. Yeah. I believe it.
But, man, he had that place rocking. Holy smokes.
I bet. Yeah. That's crazy. There's a brand new Chuck Berry biography. It's on my pile. I'm going to read that next.
That
just came out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, two of the people I used to love to listen to, Leslie Gore and Lou Christie.
Oh, yeah.
Always sing a duet of Lightning Strikes Again and It's My Party. And honestly, God, they sang so amazingly well that the hair used to stand up on the back of my neck. It was just like,
hey, that's cool.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think Lou Christie's from Pittsburgh, I think, because that was kind of a thing.
Yep.
Wow. That's kind of wild. All right. And then you're creeping up on 15 minutes. I want to make sure we got
okay.
So all of that, when Drew's party music, when that ended, it just ended just like that, or did you have?
It kind of did wind down pretty quick. I mean, I got sort of eased out of it because of I was able to CD master. I mean, they weren't maybe recording anymore, but they were like putting CDs out. Yep. So I was still able to do work for them. But I'd say it lasted maybe about 15 years. And yeah, I mean, it was good.
Hey, that's cool. It was worth it?
Oh, my God, yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was, I mean, I worked my butt off, but I learned a lot. And, it was budget work. But if you do enough budget work, it adds up.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about. Like, nobody will ever know because I get this weird, one of my weird things is I collect, or I don't collect, I keep an eye out for like old vinyl oddities, like budget label things that are, because a lot of times you find out that we were talking about this last week, like some of that stuff they're great A-list players, just moonlighting for these budget labels, and that's how the conversation started. Yep. You're like, well, we used to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, we did. Yeah, so it's funny. So you never know. So there's the Don Ho, there's the Drew's famous party records floating around. Nobody knows who's on them.
No,
it's you.
Yep,
is on a lot of them. That's funny.
Okay, one last story about Drew's, which always kills me, is I got to go. Colin O'Neill from the Extras. He calls me up one day and he goes, "Dude, I was just at a party." And I swear to God, there was a CD on. I swear to God, it was you. And I said, it was.
Yeah, it was. I'll just tell you right now that it was. Yeah, whatever it was.
So there you go. People did go out and buy CDs specifically for parties.
Yeah, you're like, what? Were you at a Hawaiian-themed party? Because
that would have been
me. You're like, that's me. Were you at a children's campfire party? That's funny.
Could have been that one.
What was the weirdest? Well, no. What could have been? Like, what was the oddest request? What did you go like, oh, I don't know if I could do that? Like, what was a stretch for you? Was there anything that you could think of offhand that was like you were like, oh, I don't know?
In all honesty, no.
Oh, okay.
Because
you were just like,
they taught me. I mean, they taught me that I learned that I could trust myself, that I could get the work done early on.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And I realized that pressure was really good. I mean, when you have a ton of time to do something, you think about it.
I got you.
You're like, but when you got to get it done, you get it done.
Right. And they weren't asking you to do something crazy. Not like,
no.
You're just like, okay,
I mean,
this is music.
Some of the crazier ones were like, I'm trying to think of one, some of the kids' songs.
Yeah.
Like I said, Crisscross Applesauce. Please write me a song called Crisscross Applesauce for kids.
Yeah, right.
I'm okay. Crisscross Applesauce. A word that rhymes with dental floss. I wrote that line.
Wow.
And some other words are much more tough, like orange, Pause.
Yeah, zero. Yeah. nothing rhymes with orange.
So you
could have a song called "Nothing Rhymes with Orange."
Yeah,
that could be a good song.
That could be good.
Yeah.
So you get really creative and nutso when you just, I don't know. I seem to do well with, especially with kids songs. Sometimes when they ask me to write, well, actually, there was one tune where they asked me to write a song sort of like Loggins and Messina or something, but called American Made, and it just wasn't in my wheelhouse. I don't know why, but I just had a hard time plugging that one in. That sounds like it should be easy, right? Compared to Crisscross Applesauce. But
one would think. I guess you never know until someone says go. Do it.
Exactly. And then you're like,
wow. How familiar were you with Don Ho music?
I knew Tiny Bubbles.
Yeah.
Because, and don't ask me why, but because I don't remember my parents listening to AM radio a lot.
Yeah.
Although my dad had a radio show in New York with, I can't remember his name, somebody that was fairly famous on the radio in New York early on in this century. But I remember an awful lot of songs that I know the lyrics for.
Oh, wow.
So we must have been listening to AM radio all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's just in your consciousness. You just kind of soak it all up.
So you were like, okay, Don Ho, I got it. I could do this. It's pretty wild. Huh. All right, I got some wrap up questions.
Wrap up.
In case we don't. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we did not talk about?
I kind of think we covered.
Are you sure?
Most everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll probably get in my car and go.
Yeah. Well, you can come back. You can come back anytime. That's what happens too.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I don't want to rush through anything. Are you a consistent practicer of your instrument?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I was religious.
Yeah.
From college until maybe 10 years ago.
You get the ball rolling.
Scales and arpeggios and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'm not a natural.
Yeah.
So so I never could figure out how to pick really fast, and I never became a shredder. I just I play slow and hopefully soulfully once in a while.
Yeah.
So I know what my limitations are, and now the thing I do practice is I'm learning songs all the time. So that's what I consider as practice.
Sure.
I literally have 900 songs in my iPad, and I know every one of them.
Wow.
So I mean, that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and that's probably pretty much what I spend most of my time doing now, other than playing bass.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's my new passion.
New thing. That's cool. Desert Island albums, a handful that you would take with you.
Wow.
Or albums that you can't live without. Someone said maybe I should phrase it like that.
Yeah. This is a weird one. It comes back to me, and I don't listen to it a lot, but the second Jethro Tull album, the one before Aqualung, although Aqualung is stunningly amazing too.
Yeah, I don't know that stuff.
And then Genesis Live, the first Genesis Live album, is just
interesting,
crazy good because they're all at the peak of their abilities.
Yeah,
It's just like,
yeah,
how did they do that?
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you were into that. My brother-in-law is a big time Genesis fan, and my wife Paula, have grown up with him. She knows everything, which is kind of funny.
I've seen them maybe 4 or 5 times.
Really?
Early on, even
cool.
with Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
In fact, we saw Peter Gabriel when he left Genesis. We saw the first show he ever did with Tony Levin playing Chapman Stick. First time anybody played Chapman Stick live.
That's funny.
And it was funny because I remember sitting in the audience going,
"What is that?
Oh, it's not all that tight, but I like it." It was their first gig.
Wow.
And apparently Tony, I read an article that said he brought the thing into the studio, had never met Peter Gabriel, brought it into the studio and said, "Listen, I got this new thing. I want to try it out. I think it'll be great." And from then on, King Crimson,
crazy,
all that
So
stuff
crazy.
with the Chapman Stick.
Necessity, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Just saying, just make it work.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Any other ones? You don't have to.
Maybe an early Bonnie Raitt album, probably Nick of Time or something like that. I mean, that's an amazing band.
Yeah.
Grooving.
Cool.
NRBQ.
Yeah.
I gotta have some NRBQ.
I'm with you with that one.
Yankee Stadium was
Yep.
an amazing album, and
Yep.
saw them so many times that I mean, I grew up. I wish I could play like Al Anderson. I mean, he's one of my heroes for
Yep.
sure.
Me too.
Yep.
Yeah, they were the first band. My older sister was into them. When I turned 21, they were the first band I went to see.
Nice.
I was like, okay, finally. Because I was listening to them and listening to them
Yep.
and listening to them. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what they really even looked like apart from the
Yeah.
pictures of the thing. I just immediately, that was the first thing I did.
That's funny. We saw them so many times that we knew there were nights when they were really screwing around a lot. And it'd be like, okay, I
It's gonna
get,
be like this.
yeah, maybe play a couple of tunes for instead of messing around all that. But then when they were on, it was like
Yeah, nobody.
stunning.
Yeah, yeah.
They used to do this thing. I don't know if you ever saw when they used to do this thing called the Magic Box.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
And they play. People would put crazy songs in there for those you who don't. I remember one time they did some Frank Sinatra song was pulled out, and they just did it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw them one time. I dragged somebody, and they weren't that into it, and they were screwing around. And my friend was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, but it's not always like."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they started doing it.
Yeah.
And then he turned to me and said, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen."
Right.
I'm just like, it can happen just like
Wow.
that. Desert island food. What could you eat
Food.
every day? Yeah.
Oh, I could eat. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, I love Indian food, and
okay.
there's a dish that's made with cheese and spinach.
My wife would know.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't remember.
I don't know.
But anyway,
yeah.
I love that stuff. I could eat that
Okay.
daily.
How'd that start? How'd you get into that?
We went.
I'm not an adventurous. See, I envy people that are adventurous.
We had never been to an Indian restaurant, and there was a new Indian restaurant early on in Deva history. My wife opened a store in Westville, and so we went to this new Indian restaurant that is now a bank because my sister-in-law wanted to go, and so we went. Honestly, God, it was the hottest food I have ever had in my entire life. It freaked me out.
Oh wow!
But I kind of dug it too.
Yeah.
It's some center of my brain. So that's kind of one of our go-tos.
Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That's nice. Well, I think you might already answered this, but the other question is like, is there any live show that you attended that comes to mind that flipped you, that changed that you were like, oh.
Well, I mean, any of the Al Anderson.
Yeah,
watching Al Anderson is just like,
sure.
That's what I want to do. That's what I want to play like.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, I think.
Yeah, the Genesis thing, the
Genesis,
Peter Gabriel thing.
I've seen King Crimson recently a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta say,
still
stunning.
Yeah.
Still. And it makes me appreciate people that do practice really hard.
Hey, whatever. Yeah, they're on a tear. Yeah.
And I got introduced to Gavin Harrison, which was just like,
that's cool.
Man, that guy is good. It's weird with drummers. I don't know what it is. You could have two guys playing the same beat. Why does one sound better than the other, or one hits you more? What is that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fascinating.
I teach it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I would say that to my kids.
Yep.
One of my things, if they're old enough, to try and get them to chill, I would play them like, AC/DC.
Yeah.
You hear what he's playing, right? Yeah, play it. Yeah. Does it sound like when he played it? Like, honestly, what you're playing, does it sound like that? And the answer is no. And I go, ask me why. Ask me why it doesn't sound like that. And I go, why? And I just go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but make it sound like that. And I don't know, but
we all have tastes, right?
Sure,
sure. Something hits you for whatever reason. Another drummer that I wish I could see live with a woman named Hiromi. I don't know if you know her, but she's one of the most amazing piano players and plays. She does a lot of different things, but she did a trio with Simon Phillips and Randy Jackson on bass.
Boy.
And
I can,
honestly, some of her albums would be.
So I've been listening to Jeff Beck from because I just want to get it straight because I know what I know.
Yep.
But I'm the kind of guy that I'm like, okay, album one, I'm gonna go all the way through. And there and back with Simon Phillips, I knew. And I just got there now.
Yeah.
I've been listening in order. And
one of my favorite drummers of all time.
Sure.
I don't know what it is about his playing. It's incredibly precise, right?
Yeah. But it's cool, but he has a swag.
He's got a swag.
There's a
just
thing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
No, but it is for real.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go.
Okay.
I don't want to run out of time.
All right.
Pierce Campbell, thank you.
Thank you.
I've known you a long time.
I know.
Long time.
I appreciate your doing this.
Wow. Hey, whatever. It's pretty much Dave's world. We're just living in it, but I appreciate it. It's fun to do. I'm going to press the button. Where can we look for you? Tell us.
Facebook, Pierce Campbell.
Hey, Pierce Campbell on Facebook. All right.
PierceCampbell.com too, websites and
that's cool.
that stuff. So,
all right, I'm going to press the button. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here it comes. John Peckman Podcast. Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go 1 through set of lights. Let's get that flipped. Go through one set of lights. Start looking left for the red neon. You got to park in the street. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Listen, Dave will tell you how to have your very own show. Thank you, Pierce Campbell.
Thank you, John Peckman.
You got it. Thanks. Drive safe, kids. Why do I say drive safe? I don't know where they're going. All right. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.